Hello, Internet.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 24 of PinTech Live.
Wow.
I'm
24?
Emoto. I'm with Kyle. Yeah, we've done 24 of these already, and we have a new game for everyone, and it's called Time Warp. It's an old Willliams game from the late 70s.
Everyone's favorite Willliams game of all time, Time Warp.
Who that? Samantha. Marco Ramirez asked if this was Samantha. Is that... Maybe he's talking about Kyle. His name's Kyle.
I know I do look really pretty. Thanks, Marco. That's a good, feel-good message, right?
Hi, everybody. All right. So, first and foremost, our awesome PinTech Live free shipping 99 24-hour free shipping code. I'm going to go ahead and post that.
Why? Because you can't say it?
I can say it. I know. So, we always do our PinTech Live codes for the free shipping to somehow be related to the episode. So today's code is PT-VITRUVIAN, which is the guy on Time Warp. Kyle, do you want to give a little backstory explanation of...
Nope, but I'll show you.
Vitruvian? Oh, okay. Let me switch cameras.
Oh.
There you go. It's that guy that does You're killing me over here. Okay, I'm going to stop the stream. I'm going to erase all of this from everyone's memory. Good job. Anyways, it's Leonardo da Vinci art. A Time Warp is a cool game where you, I guess, are traveling through time to different artists. There's a Mona Lisa back there on the back glass. And oh, wow. Oh, really? Wow. I love those pop bumpers. And yes, we have regular flippers. We do sell the banana flippers and the banana flipper shafts if you wanted to have your Time Warp. Oh, really? Oh, what happened? Nobody likes banana flippers.
No one wants them, but I will be trying flippers so we could have Time Warp and it's like total awesome banana like action. I don't know.
What other games use banana flippers, Kyle?
I'm not going to say. How about the chat tells me? There's one other game, just one, and it uses the banana flippers. I like to put banana flippers on games that aren't supposed to have banana flippers. We did an Attack from Mars tournament with banana flippers once. That was pretty dumb.
Ooh. Bat Out of Hell says Disco Fever.
Yes, you are correct.
Nice.
You win a pat on the back. I'll send it your way. That's north or something, I think. So I pat you.
Awesome. So before we get into it, a few other updates. One is we are still transitioning everyone to Twitch. And right now, we also broadcast on Facebook and YouTube, but slowly we're going to just be solely on Twitch. So if you don't have a Twitch account, please get one. It's free. It's an awesome online community. Besides our streams, you can click on the pinball genre and watch a lot of other great streamers streaming pinball 24/7. There's always going to be someone on there streaming pinball, and there's a lot of other stuff you can watch too.
Yeah, Twitch is a neat community.
If you haven't done that already, go ahead and do that.
The benefit of Twitch is you'll have better chat interactions with us. You'll be able to stick with us as we transition to another platform, mostly permanently. So, you can sign up. It's twitch.tv/Marco Pinball, correct?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So yeah,
Sorry,
you
I
get
was driving an imaginary car right now.
You sign up for a free account, and if you follow us, it should send you a notification when we go live. So if you do generally chat with us on Facebook or something like that, you'll still be able, we'll still keep this time slot unless we decide to change, but you'll know way ahead before we start changing time slots. But it's just a better experience all around. So.
Yeah, and sometimes we just stream on Twitch, so you'll be able to catch some secret Marco or exclusive, I wouldn't say it's really a secret, but exclusive content that we put just on Twitch. You know, this is our main show every Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern, but every once in a while we get on a whim and we broadcast other days during the week. So we'd love to see y'all join us. Yes. We did an awesome stream. Kenneth Bunk streamed under the Marco Pinball platform on Sunday at Bang Back Pinball Lounge. They did an Avengers tournament, and Raymond Davidson from Stern actually came, and spoiler alert, yes, he won in the tournament.
Was that a very big surprise? No, but good job to him.
It was a tough, it got pretty to the wire there. It was, the points were close.
Yes, they were.
You know, so
and,
you can watch
also
that.
Another thing to differentiate with what's going on Twitch is there's a difference between subscribe and follow. If you make an account and you're like, oh, we want to follow Marco, and you hit subscribe, and it's like, hey, you better pay us. This isn't our trick to get you to give us $5.
You can just follow.
You can follow. Follow is going to give you the notification. If you subscribe to us, though, that will fund our equipment fund. Every dollar you give to us will go towards getting better equipment, and also you get to use all of these stupid emotes that Emoto makes of my face.
They're not stupid.
So if that interests you, thanks. So anyways.
We also have the bent screwdriver, the always be tightening bent screwdriver, and as soon as we get approval, we will have the Midge handlebar mustache. Emote that we're excited for. And I have a list of emotes that you guys have been telling me to make, and I am working on them. So yeah, it's a little fun. Yeah, see, everybody loves the ABT emote. Anyway, our last announcement is just a reminder, a very exciting reminder of our international shipping program, which has drastically changed for the better. So, Kyle, do you want to tell us a little bit about these awesome changes for our international customers?
Yes. Are you tired of spending like way too much money to send a small package to Canada? Well, stop being grumpy, because now you can send packages to Canada and Australia for super cheap. Not just Canada and Australia, even continental Europe as well. Yesterday I saw a guy from Norway, I think, that ordered a pop bumper cap or something, and it cost $8 or $11 to ship it to Norway, where before, using our shipping partner, that would have cost a lot of money, $40, $50. Everyone domestically, you're not aware, but the international shipping thing has been a gigantic problem for us, and we finally kind of gotten it under control. What we're offering now is like much cheaper pricing and faster delivery. For international customers, we are offering duties and taxes paid and unpaid shipping methods, and also tracked and untracked options to Canada and Australia. So if you want to spend a little bit less money and you don't care to see when it left Miami or Los Angeles, you can spend a little bit less money. So I encourage everyone who is not in the United States to go and double check. Just make a fake order and check and see how much it would cost to ship stuff your way. It's going to be a lot cheaper. And if you are satisfied, send me an email so I can pass it on to the person that needs a bunch of pats on the back about getting this implemented. So I'm very excited. And I've noticed that, again, a lot of our European and Canadian customers have been ordering a lot lately. So
yeah, PinDaddy41 can attest that the international shipping program is amazing. He's used it twice already now.
Awesome.
PinDaddy is in Canada, I believe, if I remember correctly.
All right.
That's awesome.
Have you done duties and taxes paid or unpaid? Are you doing bigger orders, or they have been small? It's fun collecting these metrics, seeing what's useful and what people actually want in their international orders.
For sure.
Anyways.
Put it in the chat, PinDaddy. Before we get into time warp again, Kyle, this is from the chat, and this might be something that you can help out really quickly. From Sagguido said, if you have time tonight, can you show how I fix a flipper so it falls down faster? I can completely let go of the button and press it again without it moving a millimeter. Super difficult to do post passes and tip passes, and I cannot figure out what to adjust.
If you haven't already, just rebuild your flippers. Start there. Just put all new mechanical pieces in, and then you start going forward, right? New plunger, new coil stop, just get a whole new crank and link. I don't know what game you're working with, so it could change, but replace all the mechanical moving parts in the coil sleeve and start there. You'll probably be very pleasantly surprised once all those parts are replaced. Your flipper action will be awesome. So.
Yeah, and if you do not know how to do a flipper rebuild kit installation, we do have several episodes of PinTech Live that you can see on YouTube. That is just a straight walkthrough of how to do a flipper rebuild. So
yeah, we've got we've got inline Bally flippers and a late Willliams style flipper rebuild. But I would like to start differentiating and start getting more of those done to show the caveats and intricacies of each style. So if it's not there, let us know, and we can give you a hand.
Yeah. All right. Now, time warp. Kyle, what are you doing with time warp? I see you have some boards out there.
Yeah, it's a mess.
I see boards, and I instantly think, oh, this is going to be a very advanced
it is.
Advanced explanation. So
this is a big episode, though. Lots of people have been asking about this since we started, and I've always said no because I hate these games. The hardware is really annoying, but I decided I wanted to do it because I'm not afraid to fail on camera anymore. But what we've got here are I'm going to switch to this camera here, little guy. We've got some original System 6 Willliams board. Notorious. A 40-pin connector at the bottom of the computer, which I've already changed, and I'll explain why. But it interconnects with the driver board. So these 40 pins need to be making a good connection for them to speak to each other. Without signal from the driver board, the computer won't boot. So if you have any crappy connections that would have existed here, you just are going to be shooting in the dark trying to fix these computers. This computer worked. It had the original interconnect. Actually, no. I think someone had changed. It looked like someone may have changed the male portion, which is on the actual computer. But the interconnect pieces, which I have unsoldered already, were original. And if you're missing one bit of data, you can have all sorts of crazy things go on with these things, which makes them very unreliable. 50 years, or not 50, but 40 years on, right? Like, this is not a problem when these things were new, but now it plagues them. And what we run into, right, and I've explained this before a bunch of times, right? I charge, if you brought me a game, I'd be charging you about $100 an hour to work on it. That's my rate. To do this whole process will take about 2 hours, right? To unsolder, install, reinstall all this stuff. By the time you are done, right? By the time I'm done doing this, we have a game that's not working, right? You don't do anything until you do this because you're shooting in the dark trying to fix this thing. By the time you're done replacing these connectors, you still might have a game that's not working, right? And I know that I sit here on this stream and wave my hands around and say, don't just change boards. You're wasting your money most of the time. In this situation, this is something you might want to just invest in and upgrade on. Again, if I spent 2 hours doing this, that's about $200 in labor. You're 7/8 of the way to buying a brand new board, right? So this could be a lesson on how to not waste time, but this board is clean. We don't have any battery corrosion around. Well, the holder is badly corroded, but we don't have any acid damage on the board. And this game was booting, like I said, before I took it all apart. So there's a good chance everything will be okay. These things are just very finicky. Here's the other thing. I spend 3 hours, 2.5 hours getting these things working and making them happy, you still could have a finicky board in the end, right? It's kind of like corrosion damage. Thankfully, I don't think that'll be the case with these boards because they are nice, but sometimes it is in your best interest just to replace the circuit board. So there's my, sorry, that's the end of my rant. But what we will be doing, the male header is much easier to install, so I kind of just did that already. It's like putting a, whatchamacallit, like putting a new header pin on any circuit board. You do have to be gentle because the traces are rather small on the back of this board. But I've done this because it's pretty easy. What is not as easy is installing what's called the interconnect. So we've got, basically it's a little housing that has little like 156 style Molex crimp and stuff pins inside of it. And they will mount to the trace here, but they leave a hole open to where the other side can poke through the back of the board. You see how you've got kind of two sets of holes there? Towards my fingers, you have the holes that are a little bit bigger, and that's where the pins go through. And then you've got smaller holes right above. That is where the connector solders to. It's stupid. It was a dumb design, right? Like, this should be one board, or it should have used a ribbon cable. Is that door still open? Sorry. We had a guest in the studio, but no big deal. I'll ignore it, sorry. Anyways, it's just a bad design. This is a big, heavy board. Removing it and uninstalling it can cause all sorts of cracks to happen in the solder. It's dumb. So we're kind of trying to band-aid a silly design. If you look at some of the replacement boards that you can get, our friend at K's Arcade, he sells a wonderful replacement, and hopefully we will be selling them soon, by a fella that goes by Swemmer. He sells a driver board and a computer that are interchangeable with the original hardware as well, but he also leaves a provision for a ribbon cable to make the data connections both ways. So there are some good upgrades out there. Sorry, I'm kind of long-winded right now. Is there anyone asking anything or saying anything?
Yeah, Roller Pinball has a fun question on the professional tech side. How would you explain that to a customer? I'm going to charge you $200 and it still may not work.
I don't. I mean, I tell them that, you know, I just tell them it's like, look, I can do this.
Tell them exactly like that.
And I could fix your game, or I could just give you a new board and just, you know, be done with it. Because again, I'm trying to save people money. That's why I charge as much as I do. Because generally I can get things done without, you know, scratching my head too much. But in this case, it is worth it. Okay, I guess here's the thing, right? If I went to the customer's house and I saw these boards and they're beautiful and very clean, they haven't been hacked together, I might suggest doing this first because it will be quicker or it will be comparable in price and we might get lucky. If it ended up not being the case, I would obviously discount that labor heavily. But this is also something I wouldn't do at a customer's house. This is something I would only do in the shop. If I was coming to your house to work on a game, I would just bring new boards and take the old ones and maybe fix them if I have time. So it's tough though, right? You know, it's because sometimes people think you're just trying to make a fast one on them by selling them a board or something like that. But no, I'm just trying to save you money and time. So.
For sure. But today we're going to try to fix the board.
Yeah, and I think we've got it.
Not just swap it out.
I think we've got it. But again, if we fail on camera, no big deal. So I did come prepared with a few parts because I had not really seen this game before. I brought some filter capacitors for the power supply. I'm showing these in the small camera right now. These are 15,000 microfarad at 35 volt radial snap capacitors. Like that. Remember, you can go up in microfarads and up in voltage, right? Like you're not touching the ceiling yet. So it is okay to go up on both of those numbers. Thankfully, someone's actually done that work on this game. So I'm not going to be using these currently. This is not the exact part. Here is the part number. And I know Emoto has these in the slidey product slideshow. But This is the board mount male Molex connector that would be used for
a waffle.
Yeah, it's goofy looking. The general illumination connectors on the power supplies burn up all the time, so it's good to have these on hand. I believe this one is for some of the AC voltages. I think the GI power one is like 6 pins, and this is a 12 pin. I have that here somewhere. I just forgot to grab it, bring to the desk. Sorry. What else do we have? I brought some, these are the male header pins that I put on the computer. These ones are very long. This is the part number. It's a Willliams part number. This is the part number from the manual, but the specification for these guys is like almost a 1-inch long header pin. So much too long to use in like a standard 156 pin, but perfect for an interconnect. This is a standard 9-position or 9-pin like 156 Molex, and see how much longer the interconnect pins are. They do a much better job of making solid connection.
Oh, wow.
And I also got these guys here, which are the rear entry female housings for the driver board. You've got your solder connection down here. You can kind of see it better this way. You've got your solder connection that goes to the board here, and holes for the header pins to go through the backside, as so. So, yeah. Any questions?
I don't know what even type of questions I should ask now. I don't think the chat does either.
Good. Well, they're about to learn something because this is a pain in the butt, this part of the job. I'm going to get my soldering stuff hot. Another thing I brought and I always carry, and this is handy for anyone's toolbox, is these fuse clips, PCB mount fuse clips. The Willliams games don't have as much of a problem, but the Data East games, they really used a cheap fuse clip, and they break a lot. So we have these guys here, just in case you have a fatigued fuse clip, or you have one that has some corroded interior side, making a bad connection. It's good to have these on hand. They're super cheap.
And you have to solder those on too?
Yep, you'll have to solder these on, but it's better than soldering a fuse to the actual, the broken fuse clip or something like that. So they're definitely handy to have. They're very cheap, and they should be in the parts slideshow as well. So,
awesome.
Anywho, here's the old interconnect connectors. They're very gross. It is a lot of work and a lot of patience to get these things out clean. For the male header pins, I individually heated each pin and pulled them out because we need to do a very clean job of removing them from the computer. Thankfully, every single connection for those guys is on the back, so there isn't the chance of screwing one up on the top side of the board. But again, in this kind of a job, I'd rather do it slow and keep it guaranteed to, be gentle, right? The pain in the butt on this job comes in installing the new rear entry housings. There is a bit of movement, right? You can see how this, and we're talking like millimeters, very little, but you can also install them kind of at an angle, but we need all 40 of those pins to line up straight, or else we're going to struggle to get these boards to go back together.
Wait, so why would, if I need it straight, then why would I install it at an angle?
You wouldn't. You were trying to avoid that, right?
Okay.
So what I'll do sometimes, and this is a pro tip. You know what? We'll get to that when we get to that, actually. What I want to do is show something here that is important, especially when doing this job. No matter how much flux and proper desoldering techniques you use, you can still have a crummy result on the top end. It might be hard to focus on the camera, but
it's focused.
Some of the solder areas, again, we're talking about the holes closer to the resistors here.
Okay.
They're dirty. They didn't come out super clean. There's a little bit of solder blob on top. So what we want to do is not only address by desoldering the backside and removing the pins, we also kind of need to clean up the tops. There's a couple I didn't get to. And I just kind of wanted to use this as a demonstration time. I've already brushed flux onto this area. Let me bring the camera a little closer and position it.
Oh, Colin Baxter has a time warp. You're late to class, Colin. We are doing board work on our time warp.
Yeah, yours probably doesn't need this because yours sounds like it might work. So, oh.
Do you have the banana flippers, though?
Yeah.
That's the question of the hour.
Banana flippers are the way to go. Again, I've got flux. If this is something, again, if you're doing this, we've got flux on the top end of the board. Oh, let me angle this down a little bit.
Thank you.
We've got flux on the top end, and I am going to, I kind of have to hold it, so the angle might go a little goofy. Sorry, I got to sacrifice camera angles for work here, but we want to heat it up and just suck away what we can. That is not wanting to go. If you ever have stubborn solder like this, again, this is 40-year-old solder, add some.
Can you tilt down a little with your desk cam?
Yeah.
With your third hand?
Add a little bit of solder to what we're working on. That will make it easier for the solder sucker to, sorry, is it still in camera? It kind of is.
Yeah.
Adding a little solder will help add some fresh stuff that the solder sucker can bite and heat up to get the old crap out of the hole. Old solder is very, very stubborn. Nice and hot.
Oh, he does have the banana flippers.
Oh, heck yeah. Wow, that doesn't want to come out.
Oh, and Detroit Zorn's also working on a time warp. Man, it's time warp week, everybody. I was like, this is such a rare game. And then here we are, all working on time warps.
Everyone's got a silly time warp. It's a fun game. Any game that has as many drop targets as this one does is a good game.
I love drop
Now
targets.
I remember why I keep that blue towel underneath my workstation, because it's contrast so I can see through holes. Okay, I think I added enough solder there. Let's see. I'll work from the back side now. But just, you want to clean the top side up as much as you do the back side. Especially in a dual-sided board situation. Oh boy, wow, that thing is super stubborn. Now I'm wondering if this might not be solder at all. Maybe we do have like a crummy bit that is sticking. I'm going to poke it with my dental pick here. This also, yeah, okay, I think that was just some nastiness. The dental pick kind of cleared it up. You know what's funny, actually, is I think that goes to nothing, too. Nope, I'm wrong. It goes to something. Okay, anyways, we want to make sure the top side is clean and smooth. Getting this done right. Again, all of our connections on this is on the back side of the board, so we don't have to worry about making super solid connections going up through the fillet. I'm going to give it one more check.
That's so many holes you have to do each individually.
Yep, there's 40 pins, and again, you have to make sure they're all straight, which is just a pain in the butt. So if you ever are thinking of doing this, buy an extra couple headers, because what the headers will allow you to do is center things, right? So what we're going to do,
Thanks for posting that, Midge.
I've got, it's a 40-pin connector, so I have 4 10-pin rear entry housings, and I have 5 8-pin connectors to add up to 40 pins. But what we're going to do is get this thing in position.
Let's see this.
Well,
Okay.
it might take one second.
Yeah, you're coming back down, right?
Yeah, I'll be moving this around. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put 2 of them in position next to each other. I'm going to find where I can put this guy between both of them to keep them in line, right? So I'm going to add about 3 pins worth between the connectors, and this will kind of help keep them in line. This will simulate the board being pressed on, right? So that way I can't solder them. I can't solder one connector at this angle, and then the next one I put on is going to be just 1 degree up. You know what I mean? So this will help us kind of keep them in line a little bit. You can also look through the back of the board to make sure that all of the, it's hard to go through the camera, but You'll want to make sure you can see the entry to the housing through the holes where the pins go. So this is a tedious
there's a front
job.
and a back. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is intense.
It is very intense, but this is something people have been asking to see, and I want to show them that you can do it. But it's really, other than those little tips here and there, it's standard board soldering, right? We are not doing anything special. We're just making sure, the biggest thing to keep in mind here is making sure that everything is in the same plane, as if not, it's going to make it extraordinarily difficult to install the computer. And you'll see why System 9 and System 11 were such a massive upgrade, because it got rid of the stupid 2-board design and brought it into 1 board, which then also became very bloated and difficult to work on because you had to remove that gigantic circuit board every time you wanted to do something to it. So Willliams was learning slowly. But from what I've heard from people way back in the day, that this was a very reliable system. Again, these are just the evil gremlins that have popped up in the last, 40 years, right? These things. Pretty good way to do this. I just wish we could have done it with a ribbon cable or something. So again, now what we're going to do, what I'll generally do is on the ends here, we have a ground and a big 5-volt trace, which is pretty fat. Let me see if I can get the camera further over. I'm afraid to just have it turn into smoke. What we are going to do is add a little flux. Again, more flux, the better. Oh, no, that's not a good advice. Use enough flux, but don't add a crazy amount. We want to make sure that the solder will flow gently through these holes to hold these connectors in. What I will generally do is try not to do the big trace here first. I'll try to do these smaller traces before I go to this big 5-volt trace. There are a few pads that lift it up. You can see here that you've got these silver guys all along here, but a couple of them have lifted. But if you notice, so here's another thing. I always say to use the solder sucker so you avoid this. The one thing that's going on here, though, is these don't have any traces attached to them, right? You notice how all of these have lines going to something else except for that guy and that guy. It's way more common for these traces to lift when they don't have, or pads to lift when they don't have a trace going to them. So don't worry about that. I felt bad when I did it, but I realized it's not that big of a deal. Sorry if this is
we
going
have
over
another.
people's heads.
We have another time warp. That's 4 time warps in our chat room right now, right?
Heck yeah!
Wow,
it's a cool game. There's a lot of neat stuff going on the game. There's a ton of drop targets. There's a ton of pop bumpers. It's fun. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of tack this in place. Right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my clean soldering iron, and I'm going to put a few tacks on this thing, make sure it's straight, and then continue. The reason I'm not doing the big ground or the 5-volt trace here is because it's just big and fat, and it's a double trace. So what I'll do is I'll kind of choose one in the middle here, and we're just again lightly tacking, and this way we can make sure that the thing is straight before we really go ham wild and solder 20 pins together, right? Is that smoke really blowing the camera out? Is it bad?
No, it looks great. And just a reminder, you see that smoke. So in your setting, you should be using some type of fan, have air circulation, and wearing a mask. Kyle's a professional.
I'm good at holding my breath. Let's put it that way.
He holds his breath. That's what makes. He's part scuba diver. But it's always good to have kind of a fan kind of blowing away that smoke away from you, because no, it's not good to inhale.
Yeah, no, this is all bad. It will poison you slowly. So a lot of times I'll take a big breath before I start doing this. This side was a little far up, so I'm going to heat this and kind of try to flatten it out. But the reason, again, if the part about putting the header in the back didn't make sense, it might make a little more sense if I show this. Let me...
Oh, no. So whoever keeps walking in and out of our studio, you're starting to make the audience's dogs think it's their personal doorbells. So all the dogs in the world are like, someone's at the door.
Yeah.
It's just ours. I'm sorry.
Unfortunately, we can't lock that door. So we will have to put up with that for just a minute. What I want to do here is we want to make sure that this is in line. And what I can kind of see is one side is winging up a teeny bit. To me, it looks like the side that is on that big fat 5-volt trace is kind of winging up. Does that come through at all? So it's going to be on right above Emoto's head. It's not totally straight and in line. That is the hard thing, right? Is like we'll put a stabilizer through the middle, but that's when the ends start going up. So I'm going to quickly tack this down, and hopefully we'll get something handsome to look at, and we can finish this boring part, and we can see if the game works. But this is the thing, right? This is all more ammunition as to why it might be better just to replace this technical, weird setup with a modern solution in this application, right? A lot of techs, again, like if this was a customer's game, I would absolutely not want to do this because I don't want to have to charge someone if I can't fix it, you know? So sometimes it is easier just to buy a new board. That looks okay. I think I'm okay to kind of start going wild now because, sorry, I keep forgetting to move the camera. It's in line, so now y'all can watch me solder a little bit.
Yeah, DeWisp says an activated filter exhaust fan is ideal for protecting your lungs.
It is.
Good tip.
Holding your breath isn't the best solution, but...
Oh, this camera. Try to get it in focus.
Maybe we should get a fan in here.
There you go.
The air conditioner is kind of blowing it right my way and then pulling it away the other direction.
What if you do it and like as you're going, you go.
That's exactly what I just did. Oh, blow on it?
Instead of like, no, yeah, instead of holding your breath, you're like exhaling it.
I'll be my own fan. Kind of works.
All right, so you're just soldering little pyramids.
Yep. This is a good time for some Q&A. Again, though, we're trying to, when you're soldering on boards and stuff like this, the goal is, again, to make it look kind of factory and make it look gentle, like you weren't here. We want to add enough of a solder connection to where it will hold and encase the holder, but it won't like lump up and dry unevenly, which causes bad cold solder joints and stuff like that. I'm going to take the header out so I can solder the rest of the pins. And it looks pretty straight. It could be better here on the end, and I think that's just because I took the pin out, but I know what I'll have to do is push this side down while I solder it. Again, this job it takes a lot of concentration because there are lots of possibilities to do things goofy.
Oh wow, DeWisp made his fan using a computer fan and an Altoids can. That is cool.
That's great.
That's some MacGyver stuff right there.
I've got a bunch of 180 millimeter fans at home from old computers.
There you
that
go.
I can do.
Let's do that as an episode. How to make your own fan, pinball fan. We do have a few questions, Kyle, from
bring 'em on.
Black Cat Pinball 1. He says, how do you feel about putting a gate so the pop bumpers can't shoot it in the collect? Oh, I guess he's talking specifically about Time Warp. Was thinking about doing it on mine before I sold it, but never got around to it.
I don't know. Honestly,
face.
I really don't know the rules to this game, and I really don't have the playfield layout memorized. This is one of our test games that we use to test our pin score LED displays in. So it's not a game that's like particularly near and dear to my heart. So I don't exactly know the layout or the way the ball behaves very much. But maybe that's a question to ask once we have the whole game done and we could redesign the timeless design.
Yeah, we can play it on an after hours maybe. Colin Baxter asked, are you going to do the mail?
I already did the mail. I did that off camera because this is enough soldering to put people through. And I kind of want to get to some more fun stuff instead of just soldering silly things onto the circuit board. So But yes, you need
Any tips for that? Is it the exact same?
No, the male's a lot more straightforward. The male's more straightforward because the pins fit one way, right? There's not like a ton of up and down play where you could get these things soldered in incorrectly. Again, you just want to make sure they're all straight, which is pretty easy to do. Yeah, it's just like soldering in any standard header pin like you would for any other game. There is one thing we could address also on these Willliams games is look at these connectors on the side of the board. So these are where like our connectors are going to go to run the lamps and the switches and the solenoids and stuff like that. Can you see how they look kind of weird? Maybe it's only weird to me because I look at this crap all day, but the way circuit boards are done in a factory, right? I'll keep the small camera on the big side, but what they do is they kind of put all the components into the board and then they kind of dip them in a solder bath and then take them out. And that's how you get like a very even solder job on the back of a board. But what Willliams did in this era was they cut these pins like extraordinarily short. You'll notice on a lot of other circuit boards, right, you've got a millimeter or so of pin sticking out beyond well, I call it the meniscus of the solder, right? How it kind of comes and holds itself at a point. Willliams cut these things very short, and you will find a lot of times that these look like they could be cracked solder connections, but they're not. But that's another thing too. When you're cutting pins, you want to make sure you're not cutting them like super, super, super short like these boards are.
Sorry, I just cut off your audio on accident.
It's okay. Hit that mute button.
That was my bad.
Okay, I've got the other one in here. I'm going to tack it in, see if it looks good, and then we will continue soldering. So yeah, I have a little disdain for this system. I don't like the early Willliams system because it's kind of difficult to troubleshoot. The Bally system will run with, you can get the computer to boot up by itself. This system will not boot up unless it can actively talk to the electronics on the driver board, which is what we're working on now. The computer has to be able to speak with all of the electronics on this board to boot up. So it's not just a matter of being like, okay, I'm going to plug my Bally computer in on the bench and see what happens. You need to do, the whole dang thing to try to get these things working. And you don't know where the problem is. They don't have very good diagnostic tools like Bally did, or keep it contained, right, where each board can be powered independently, if that makes sense. They're just very, very tedious to troubleshoot. And again, if we're missing one bit of data, that is the information that gets traveled through this interconnect board, or these interconnect pins. It will do all sorts of crazy stuff. Either not work.
Tilt down a little, or
oh yeah, I'm sorry.
We see the smoke, but we don't get to see the
fire.
Fire.
We can't make fire jokes. Oh. California's on fire.
Dang, Midge just turned you into an octopus. It's amazing.
You're sitting over there doing. Is Dalton here making football man emojis? Can you do that, Steve? You use like the football arm guys, and you put my face in the middle of it. That's the one that I find.
No, he did an octopus. It's way better. You're all like, blue.
I wish I was an octopus. That means I could do like 3 things at one time.
You do need more hands. The more hands you have, I think you could do even better at pinball repair.
Probably. The other reason I kind of like using these 10-pin sockets instead of the 8-pin interconnect sockets is that I only have to do 4 of them instead of 5. So you only have you have less chances of getting them all crooked and nasty.
This one's a little crooked, but it's not crooked enough to be a massive problem. Again, this is like kind of like, you get points for doing it cleaner, so.
And then you just push on the other side on the back.
Yeah, I'm pushing that header through just like it would be on the computer. So we'll see it all once we get it all mounted. I'm going to look at this to reference. That needs to come down a teeny bit on my right side. And we'll finish this up here real quick, and then hopefully we will throw it in the game. It will work, and we will be happy, and we can boot Time Warp up.
Moments always so intense.
I know. I'm ready to fail, but it would be great if we do it and it just works. I'm going to try to...
Yes, David Schneiman says the average person can't do that.
What, be an octopus?
That's funny because that's what I was thinking too. If you're talking about the soldering on the boards, it just takes lots of time and patience and practicing not on the board you're actually trying to fix, right? That's one of your things.
This isn't me being like a jerk, right? It's really not that hard. It's not like some crazy rocket science or anything like that. It just really requires a lot of practice. To learn how long to hold the iron there, how much solder to use, how to approach certain, how to approach the different ways you need to solder on boards. It's really quite easy. Just honestly, it's easier for me to work on circuit boards than it is to like solder wires onto a coil on a pinball machine, right? Like, at least this stuff doesn't want to fall around while I'm doing it. But practice, 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 and don't practice on what you need to actually not fail on. Those are the biggest tips I could give you.
Jennings, hey, buddy.
What's up, dude?
David asked, what's the cost to repair on average? Since you came in a little late, if you want to give your little spiel of repairing versus rebuying. Resourcing.
Is he asking like specifically about these boards? Because like I can't give an average on how much it costs to fix a pinball machine, right? It depends on if you took it out of a granny's basement or if you dug it out of a barn, which a lot of people are doing nowadays. This repair, I mean, generally it'll take about an hour and a half to 2 hours. And this is just one, I like to use the corroded battery acid computer example and this board in particular as the examples of why it actually is a good idea to buy brand new boards sometimes. Because again, my rate in the shop is $100 an hour.
And that's a pretty average rate for a professional pinball repair person.
Anyone who has like just skilled knowledge on something, right?
It fluctuates, right? By region, by person, by experience.
Yeah.
So he said, for the board. So
I mean, again,
sometimes we're showing the repair. So if you want to do it, you can know how, but you can also just potentially, if you have the right board, replace it. And there's lots of great sources online for you to just replace the board. That looks beautiful, Kyle.
Yeah, it actually came out pretty good.
Why can't we all be Kyle Spiteri? Then we don't have to worry about any of this.
I would totally let all y'all be me.
Be good.
I'll definitely trade. Someone else can be really tall and awkward for a day. I'm going to use my dumb-looking magnifying jeweler's loupe just to make sure that I have everything very even.
Oh, yeah, let's all remind the chat. Oh, I should have mentioned it when Dead Flip was in the chat room, but Kyle is the world's tallest pinball streamer.
Oh, my God.
Sorry,
Jack. This isn't a contest I entered myself in. Hey, when everything's cool and I can go and I'll go stream with Jack, we'll just make sure the cameras are facing like down and up at us and make us look real imposing. So this looks pretty good. I'm pretty confident that everything will be okay with this. The last thing I'm going to do before we run over to the game is we're going to get rid of the nasty battery holder. This guy here. I might as well, I guess I need the solder sucker. Actually, I really don't. It doesn't matter that much. We're gonna just do it the dirty way. I'm just gonna cut it off the board because we're never gonna use it again anyways. So
yeah, let's give your philosophy, battery philosophy. We've heard it a million times, but for the people that are new in the chat, why don't we want batteries on the board? And why should we all take them off?
Because when the batteries start wanting to eject their, switch over to the small camera real quick. Yep. When the batteries want to start ejecting their life juice, you want it to not get on the expensive, sensitive electronics that get destroyed by them. So thankfully, there were batteries in this at one point. This holder has actually been replaced, as we can see from the solder that is on the board, the back of the board. This is not original. Someone's replaced it, and they've leaked it one time. So what we're going to do is get them off the board and just move them away. I have quickly made up a battery harness that I realized I actually need to extend quite badly, and I don't have any wire here. But for all intents and purposes, I am going to just solder this battery harness that I've made into onto the computer, and then eventually I will lengthen them and screw it into the side of the head. The goal is to get these batteries as far away from the computer as possible. People might say, oh, well, Kyle, you know how to solder and do all this board stuff. Why don't you just put an NVRAM in it? Because I don't feel like it. We can, but
it's a more complicated install, right?
Yeah, I just don't feel like it, right? This will be fine this way. This game is not a game that is going in someone's home. This is a game I'm constantly going to be fiddling with, so it's not that big of a deal. Maybe one day we'll put NVRAM and everything, but I don't feel like it. That is the best answer I have for you. So I'm going to use my crappy flush cutters. Everyone should keep one pair of flush cutters really nice and sharp, and keep a really crappy one so you can do things that they are not designed to do, like this.
Where are you cutting?
I'm cutting at the the top bits of these battery holders. So that's what solders into the board. Yeah. So what I'm going to do is, again, I'm gonna solder these straight to the board. But it's actually, I mean, you're not supposed to do this, but whatever. It's kind of kosher to solder from the front when you're doing this stuff. All you have to do is add a little bit of heat, stick the wire, and take it off. This isn't something that needs to be super exact or precise, so do it at your own risk, but I'm comfortable soldering these in from the front. I should have done it better to make this more professional looking, but again, this is we're quickly working on this game. This isn't like a game that needs to be super nice for a customer or something. The orientation of this board is with this connector down. So when we are installing the batteries, we need to install them as with the board looking at you. The batteries need to be installed with the wires in a backslash. So the positive needs to go in the bottom left corner, and the negative needs to go in the upper right corner. You can see the way that these traces go back here. To keep the positive voltage on, we need it to be here. If we've soldered the positive voltage here, it would just kind of go up this trace and end. So if you need to, this is kind of complicated, but again, I don't want to have to explain it. We're just going to do it that way, because that's the way it needs to be done. Batteries are kind of an old solution now, though. Again, I said the reason I don't want to do it is because I'm lazy, but I would normally just want to install an NVRAM in here because you never need to mess with it again, right? These batteries will eventually die. And when these batteries eventually die, we will have to change them, right? With the NVRAM, theoretically, they will last to infinity. So
and beyond.
And beyond. So, you know, again, when we, I think in a couple weeks, we're going to start working on my Jungle Lord. We'll do a System 7 game, and we will definitely do an NVRAM install on the System 7 game. So.
Yeah, thanks for answering that, internal Grammy. But we got asked, Pinball122, what is NVRAM again? It's
a non-volatile RAM, so it does not require a reference or a voltage to retain its memory. The batteries exist in these games to keep the RAM powered, so it can retain its memory, so it doesn't forget what is implanted in the chip. An NVRAM allows you to not need batteries.
And Wicked, what is your name? Wicked Pissa Pinball Pit? I love these screen names. Does the battery holder need a diode on it?
This board has a diode that blocks voltage coming into the battery. It is right where my soldering iron tip is.
Do all boards have that, or do I have to look for that?
Not all boards do. So again, this is, read a guide before you do this to make sure you're doing it 100% correctly. But the battery packs that we sell on our website do have a diode in line. On this one, I cut it off because I needed a little bit more room to put this harness together. But
oh, wow.
But yeah, there is a diode. It is right here where my thumb is. And you can see
what if there's a diode on the board and a diode on the battery holder that I install? Is that going to mess anything up?
As long as they're both orientated the same way, it's fine. You can run diodes in line as long as they have the band facing the same way.
Oh, wow. Okay. So not perpendicular. Then what would happen if I accidentally did that?
I don't know. I don't want to find out either. But maybe it would do something really cool.
Too many questions.
So let's jump over the game really quick and maybe we'll get lucky. I feel dumb for not making the battery harness longer, but whatever. I didn't think about that before we started streaming. I'm going to get the back glass way out of the way.
Yes. Keep it secret. Keep it safe.
Yeah, I also don't want to lean it straight up against leg bolts. So hold on while I...
Also, shout out to our new camera operator, Ryan Shepard.
Haha, you're famous now.
Yay. He's like, finally, I get to do something. It was just Kyle sitting on the table the whole time. But now you get to
Ta-da!
zoom.
So this is a System 6 game. The real common problem with these games is see how this cabinet is rocking super hard?
Yeah.
It's real common for the back end of this cabinet to split. So what you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 panels that make up this head, and it's really common for the back one to come loose from the bottom panel. So you will get this a lot. Another thing Willliams has on these games is you have there's a flat plate that sits at the back of the neck, and then the head has like an L-shaped bracket, or I guess it's kind of a U shape, but it's designed so the head will be placed like forward, and then you slide the head back. And what that does is it kind of latches the head to that plate so you can let go of it while installing the bolts. A lot of people just place the Willliams heads flat, straight down, tighten them, and then everything gets all bent. And usually when people do it wrong, this starts to happen. So this one is installed correctly, but it's annoying. So I probably will, maybe we'll do it on camera one day or do a supplemental video, but we can get some wood glue and we will push the head forward, introduce some glue back here, work it in, and then clamp it tight, and that will solve the issue.
Nice. Hey, just a quick question from Colin Baxter.
Yeah.
He said, since Gorgar has the same boards, what could cause the fuse for the coils to blow periodically? It happens when you play 20 plus games in a row.
Oh, a lot of things. I mean, you could have a diode that's going goofy.
That's what's happening to my hard body.
Yeah, but yours is the line fuse. I'm assuming Colin's talking about the solenoid fuse. I mean, you could have a solenoid that's going. It just happens that the fuse is getting weak, and that solenoid that kind of has too much resistance is starting to weaken the fuse, and it just so happens that it explodes in that 20th game. So check all your solenoids, make sure they're not starting to burn or anything like that. There's a lot of things. There's no one straight like end-all be-all answer for that kind of a problem, you know? With this game, at this point they started moving the soundboards into the head. On other early System 6 games, like, I don't know about Gorgar. Gorgar came after this game, I think. But Flash is a good example. Flash is a weird game, though, because they made 20,000 Flashes. So Flash was on 2 systems. Flash was a System 4 and a System 6 game. But the soundboard was in the cabinet. I think it's just a holdover from the way they wired the chime units, because these games still call up sounds using solenoid inputs. It's weird. But you've got your square power supply here. Later System 7 games have a different shape power supply. You can use a System 7 power supply in a System 6 game, but you can't use a System 6 power supply in a System 7 game, I think is the rule. I don't know. Don't quote me on that, but I wanted to let you know. Well, other than that, again, it kind of looks similar to Fire, if anyone remembers watching when we were doing Fire, right? We've got those two bridge rectifiers down here. We've got a big filter capacitor here for the lamps. This game does have the transformer in the head instead of in the cabinet like later games do. But yeah, someone's worked on this power supply, the soundboard. It has new capacitors through it. Actually, you know what? It looks like someone has not done this power supply with the filter capacitor. We will do that eventually, but
cool.
I missed it. But anyways, let's throw the board in. The way you can tell a System 6 or computer also, if you want to zoom out a little bit.
No, this is perfect. Don't listen to him, Ryan.
Don't listen to me. You've got 6 spots for ROMs here. There you go. They'll allow you to. There is the opportunity to install 6 ROMs. It's kind of like a 6-pack, and that's one way you can identify a System 6 computer from an earlier one. So, what those are there for is to allow.
That's the little snap-ins ones that you did before, right?
Yeah, they're all socketed, which is nice. A lot of the chips on this board are socketed. So before we install it, I will press on the on Willliams games. You've got 2 different ROMs. You've got what's called the flipper ROM, and you've got the game ROM. The flipper ROM is kind of like the operating system, where the game ROM has the actual code for the game. I think they're called flipper ROMs because, again, these Willliams use the same system in a lot of their shuffle boards and stuff as well. So, gosh, these are awful. I did such a bad job. Let's do this. I'm going to try to hang it.
Yeah, where are you going to put that battery?
I'm going to fix it as soon as the cameras go off, but whatever. Do something like that.
The Eternal Grammy asked, how does the soundboard misbehave when the capacitors are going south?
So it depends on where in circuit those capacitors are. So I'm just walking over to grab a box of hardware. This game only had 2 screws holding the computer and the MPU in out of like 10. So it depends on where the capacitor is. So sometimes they'll install these capacitors that filter kind of like the sound as an output. And if those capacitors go bad, you'll lose all sounds. Sometimes you have capacitors that filter other signals, and they can make the game sound really scratchy. So there's a few different ways they can affect the game. The real common thing, though, is definitely making the game sound scratchy. So replacing some of those, replacing the electrolytic capacitors on a soundboard will generally make the game sound lovely.
Nice. And from Colin asked, did you change the ROM sockets?
No.
Isn't that what I just asked? No.
These, okay, well, this just makes them a little more complicated. Some of the Willliams games, it's mostly earlier games. They use a brand called Scanbe, S-C-A-N-B-E, and those sockets suck. They totally bought these sockets from like the lowest bidder sort of reason, right? And they're just notoriously unreliable and very bad. You need to change them. If your Willliams game has any Scanbe sockets, right? If I was working on, well, there's a flash right there. Thankfully, that one's a System 6. But if we were working on like a roller disco or a System 4 flash, those things are chock full of those Scanbe sockets. So not only do we replace the interconnect every time, we also inspect for Scanbe sockets because they are bad. I've been talking a lot of bad about this entire system, but unfortunately, there's just a lot of gremlins around them. Okay, so we've got our computer mounted. There is a tray that the computer mounts to, and then you screw it to the brackets. These need to be screwed down. There is a ground. The computer, you do have like independent grounds that come from the power supply, but these boards also ground through the frame. So if you don't have them grounded to their brackets, it's just bad. That's bad form. Don't do that. We're going to line this interconnect up, and we are going to press really hard. And that was easy. I'm very pleased with myself for doing it. Lovely. What we're going to do, though, is they are kind of hard to install, these screws. Sometimes these brackets get bent, and when you put nice tight interconnects on, they shift the boards every which way. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to install 2 for now, right? Because these things actually need to be repositioned really badly. Sometimes I can loosen these guys up and we can shift them around a little. Sorry, I kind of block the whole camera when I work on this stuff, but what we're going to do is we're going to tack it down and we're going to plug in the important stuff and we're going to see if the game boots up. This is the safest way to do this. We won't install solenoids and stuff like that just in case one locks on, but we can do it in a process where we can just give power to the computer and the driver and watch the displays work. Or we could hook up the feature lamps into the displays and see what comes on. So we'll do it in a safe fashion, but.
So you do it in steps.
Yeah, that's the safest way to do it. But then again, you know, the more I think about it, like this game is not unknown to me because again, I was able to get it to boot and run the program before I took it apart. Mm-hmm. So at the same time, I'm not worried about anything going haywire. So maybe we'll just plug it all in and we'll really see how lucky Kyle is today.
I know. Everyone's crossing their fingers in the chat for you.
That's good. I need it. I'm not even going to try to remember what all this is. This is all display data. I know that. So the top right is display information, digit and segment strobes. This, I think, is also display information. All of this stuff here. I don't remember what this is. I don't remember what this is. But I know that on
plugging it in though.
On Willliams games, I know gray is 5 volts, and I think gray and white is 12 volts, and black is ground. So I know the power comes in here. I don't know. This is these are special solenoids. I don't exactly remember the way special solenoids work, but they're special. These are your regular solenoid outputs. I think this is just power for the driver board. These are lamps, I know that. Let's plug all this stuff in, and I think we're going to get lucky.
So you're just plugging it all in then?
Yeah, let's just do it. I take back what I said before. We're going to go for it all. And then we've got the switch information here, the green columns and the white rows of the switch matrix.
And just a friendly reminder, make sure your game's unplugged, powered off.
Everything looks good.
This.
These look really dumb, but you know what? It'll do for now. Let's plug this thing in. Maybe we'll get lucky.
All right, everybody. Cross your fingers and toes.
Get ready to pour one out for me when the thing catches on fire.
So what we're going to do on the pinball machine.
The first sign of life is generally the displays. So let's flick it on. Okay, so it booted into something. It says 04. Maybe that's because we just put new batteries in it, so I'm going to turn it off and on. Okay, we have something on the display here. Let's hit the master command enter button, because that does stuff sometimes. Let's see. Now we'll jump over to the... Let me do some work in the coin door here real quick and see if I can get this thing to come to life. The games like to do all sorts of weird stuff when you just change the batteries. There's a lot of corrupt information in the RAM. So sometimes to fix it, you can turn it off and back on. It's not seeming to want to do that for me.
Colin Baxter says, open the coin door, then turn it on.
Hey, oh yeah, memory protect switch. Hey, thanks, Colin. You saved me some issue. We have a running game. That's great. The way we can tell it's running, well, we could tell it was running because I was making it work. I was making it do things when I was using the controls on the display. So the program was running and it was displaying something here. Whether that was garbage or not, I don't know. The way we can really tell the program is running, though, is if we zoom in. Can you get that, Ryan? Can you get the feature lights going in the game? The feature lights are the #1 way to tell if a program's running, right? The computer is saying, hey, do this flash in the triangle and, you know, do this pattern and then flash all the lamps.
Oh, yeah, I see it moving
so
around.
We've got a running game, which is good. because that means that most of my work back there is probably done, which makes me very happy. We do have some goofy stuff going on with the displays. Again, the way Willliams did this was you had a master display, which has all of the information from the computer running into it. And that also has the credit match board on it. And then you have your satellite displays here, which are your player information, right? So all of the information goes to this display, or this board that has a display. It gets decoded and then sent off to each satellite display. I see them kind of wigging out. I'm not sure if that means we've got bad signals from the computer, or if we've got like decoding issues on this, or if the glass is starting to go out. It could be a lot of issues, but maybe we will do a full pin score installation on this display. This is probably the most complicated pin score to install too, and that's not saying much because it's very easy. So yeah, I'm very pleased. This makes it, this is going to be so easy now.
So are the score displays working?
I don't know. I can't really tell. Again, the master display is working, but whatever's going on with the satellite displays, I'd have to look into it. If you look at player 3, you can see it like wanting to light. Can you catch that, Ryan?
Oh, yeah, it is.
So I don't know if that's a data problem or if that's it could be a lot of things. Sometimes you get crud built up between the connectors. Let's turn the game off.
A question from Lebo's Pinball. Speaking of fuses, do you usually add the fuses to the 2 bridge rectifiers?
So we did that on Fire. I generally don't do that. I haven't had it actually be a problem ever. Now, again, I do that if a customer wanted me to, now that I've learned how easy it is. But unless I was going to operate one of those early games, like on location, I probably wouldn't bother. But I don't know. I mean, it is kind of a safety thing. So, and it doesn't take much time, so maybe it is a good thing to do. It's something I actually just learned about. I'll be totally honest. There is a board you can get for System 11 games that allows you to just disconnect your rectifiers and screw it into this board, and it adds inline fuses, filter capacitors, and rectifiers. It's really lovely. What I'm doing is I'm just unseating all of these edge connectors. This is a board that has contacts on the back of this. It's called a card edge connector. So there's traces on the back side of this like raised part of the silicone here on the board, and this connector has pins only on one side. It might be hard to see just because the camera is so far away, but
yeah, we can see it. We got a little zoom
so
action.
Sometimes you just get a little crud built up in there, and removing and reinstalling these pins can cut some of that nastiness away. But since it's kind of a uniform issue we're having here where none of them are lighting, I have a feeling we have a deeper lurking gremlin here.
And is that something, if we just replace it all with pin scores, it'll work?
Unless it's a logic problem, but it's likely not a logic problem. These things are notorious for being goofy. There's a lot of driver hardware on these boards. So generally your biggest problem with displays on these old games are your high voltage goes out. And if the high voltage goes out, you know, some of those parts are obsolete. So it is a good idea just to replace the whole system. But we'll get into that when we decide to mess with the pin score stuff possibly. But hey, it's good for now, right? We can test the game and we can kind of see what's going on. I can dive in and see if I can figure out what's up with the displays soon. But let's open up the game and let's see what's going on underneath, and we'll see how much work we really have ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, then we can see what we're doing for our next episode next week.
This game, the one thing I don't like about this game is the drop targets, but that's also like the one thing I love about this game is the drop targets. They use a really dumb design. Hey, another dumb design. They use this like horseshoe-shaped contact on a circuit board, and they're really, really annoying to adjust, and they look messy, and it's just all around a pain in the butt. And there's 8 of them on this game, so but we'll see.
Elusive Himla says, banana flippers are not goofy, they're innovative.
Yeah,
I love the banana flippers, don't get me wrong. Sorry, the acetate just fell out. Let me put that back in. This game looks like it's in pretty good shape, actually.
Oh, it looks really clean under there.
Yeah, no, it's not so bad, actually. That's reassuring. Hey, it comes with a free quarter. Nice. I'm richer now.
That's Nancy's. Put it back.
She won't miss it, will she? This thing's pretty, is pretty clean. I think we'll be okay. I hate it. There's something weird about this era of game where they just get hacked up. These and like Data East games are always hacked up real bad. But I mean, shucks, we don't have a single melted coil. Most of the lamp sockets are working. Willliams did use good lamp sockets. Bally used really crummy lamp sockets, but these are good, and we usually won't have problems with these. The one big annoying thing is absolutely going to be the drop targets, and I definitely want to do a good video on those. But I will be honest, I struggle with them sometimes as well, so we will we'll kind of be in it together. But
yeah, we just need Holland Baxter in the chat with us.
Yeah.
He's been solving all your issues today.
I know, seriously. I forgot about that memory protect thing. I got to mount those batteries better. Actually, oh, here we go. I see a problem. Check that out. Got a home repaired pop bumper bracket there.
Ooh.
It's
That's fun.
the coil stop side broke off and they just welded it back on. Too bad they didn't know that Marco Specialties existed, where you can buy all this stuff.
Danigel says, check the right flipper coil.
Yeah, it looks like it's all cattywampus, doesn't it? But
I have some stuff to work on.
oh, definitely. We're going to be taking this all apart. This, here you go. There's an always be tightening thing. The left flipper bracket is super duper loose. We're going to want to go in through and tighten all this stuff. All of these drop targets need to be redone. Actually, the left side ones don't, but the right side ones do. They've got a lot of resistance. They don't want to fall. Someone rebuilt one pop bumper, but not the other 4. That's annoying, but yeah, no, this will be easy. We'll see what we get. I'm very happy. I'm very pleased that our work went well this time.
Yeah, nice. So do you want to answer some questions and do a little couple minutes of Q&A with everyone?
Nah, not this time. See y'all. No, just kidding.
All right, bye.
No. That's my favorite part. I don't actually want to
is
work
his
on
favorite
pinball. I
part.
want to talk with you guys.
David, we have your question. This is a very broad question, but let's see what Kyle says. We're always interested in Kyle's opinion on this.
Why?
He asked, how many hours do you think it was to put together from start to finish an old Willliams pinball machine back in 1979 versus how long it takes 2020 for Stern?
I don't know because I don't know either of those answers.
How the assembly line worked.
I mean, I'm going to say that it's probably a lot quicker to assemble the Stern games nowadays, just because of the way that they're wired, right? You've got the whole bus system in the node boards, so there's a lot less wire to run on a pinball game. But you have to remember, I mean, these things weren't like delicately put together by people in white gloves, right? Like people were slamming these playfields around and throwing templates on them and just pounding drills into them. I mean, I know that Gottlieb, they would actually machine, they would have a jig set up and have a massive drill plate come down, and the drill bits would be right in position and just go burnt and drill all the holes all at once. So I don't know. I would imagine that Stern, I mean, Gary's good at that, right? Gary's been building pinball games on and off for 40 years. So
Yeah.
I think he knows how to run an assembly line. Willliams did too, but again, just because of how simplified the new Stern games are when it comes to wiring, I can imagine they're much quicker to put together. Even though they're much
Ninja
more
says,
complicated.
isn't it
on
the
top.
same factory? I don't think it's the same exact same factory.
No, it's not. The
They're
old
they're
Willliams
both in
games.
Chicago, but
The old Willliams games were built in a factory, I think, on California Avenue in Chicago. I think the factory moved once in the 80s, and then they sent all the slot machine and pinball, or the slot machine and video game people across the street. So for like the latter part of the 90s, it was just, the pinball really was the only part in that factory. I think. I don't remember, actually.
yeah.
So let me not say
Something
that
like
wrong.
that.
I could be wrong.
One of my neighbors heard that I, like pinball, and is from Chicago, and he's a lot older, and said him and his wife used to hang out in the old Bally Willliams factory and play pinball with everyone there. And I was like, drop some names. Who do you singing if I could. He didn't remember. But
well, I'm excited. I mean, there's a lot of people to talk to about this, but I'm gonna do an interview with Mike Vinokur, who did not work for the pinball division, but he worked for Midway, which was across the street, right, in the video game building. And I want to hear his stories about what the pinball place used to be like. So it's interesting to hear those stories. It's just a whole different time.
Yeah, I love history.
The old factories, though, were very different because nowadays, and also probably a bit in the 90s too, when Willliams moved to their newer building, a lot of this stuff was done in-house, right? I mean, let's talk about Gottlieb. I mean, Gottlieb made everything, right? They had separate art company, Churchill. I think Churchill Cabinets has been making the pinball cabinets for decades, right? But there were a few cabinet companies that shot the art. I know that on the Gottlieb games, at least, that the artists didn't even have any say of what went on the games, the sides of the games, right? They were just shot by the cabinet company, and then they showed up at the factory and they loaded them up. But I mean, Gottlieb had metal shops. I mean, they were stamping their own brackets. They had it was a raw materials came in one side and pinball games came in on the others, out on the other side. It was just amazing. Willliams definitely had the ability to tool up to make and try to do sorts of things, but they didn't have the same capability of having like a massive machine shop like Gottlieb did. I think. I'm pretty sure. I don't remember when they moved the factory, but Willliams started to work with a lot of outside vendors to produce some of their, bracketry, etc. So.
Yeah, and do you have a request? Oh, Carrie Hardy, we will keep you awake. Am
I boring you? Sorry, man.
Awake. No, he's just making calculators or something like that. We had a request bad out of hell for a Gottlieb drop target replacement video. We haven't done any Gottliebs either. We haven't done EMs.
Yeah.
We're gonna do a Jungle Lord. I mean, that's gonna be our next game.
I kind of hate working on Gottliebs, but they're amazing. They're just incredible. I think the dude that machine or designed the Sherman tank also did all the Gottlieb designs because they're just like bulletproof. They're insane, right? They're so hardy, but unfortunately, unlike the Sherman tank, they are very difficult to service compared to other electromechanical games. But I mean, I have a jack-in-the-box that needs work, but the drop targets are new. The only other Gottlieb game I have is my 2001, and I don't really feel like replacing.
Send Kyle a Gottlieb game to fix, and then we'll fix it on the stream.
I've got a Mustang back in California, but I just don't have the time and money to ship all of my games over right now. But yeah, someone send me a pinball game. I'll work on it, and I'll send you a big bill. No,
Sean Cannon on Facebook asked, are there any good books that talk about the pinball manufacturers? Oh.
There's not enough.
The pinball compendiums.
Yep, no, that's one of them. Roger Sharp's pinball book that is like unobtainium
the whole set.
From the 70s is a good resource for some interesting tidbits. There was a fella, I forget his name, but he was working on like the complete history of pinball. And this dude, I mean, he went way back to like the 1800s, right? But the era that he got through in his books, he stopped like wartime, pre-war era. So we never got that information out. It's difficult, right? Because this wasn't exciting.
Have you seen the pinball compendiums?
Yeah.
Am I saying that word right?
Yeah, compendium.
I love those books.
They're great.
It's three giant books, and it just goes through all the different games and the history.
The best way to learn about this stuff is like listen to some of the old podcasts. I'm going to plug it again. But
Clay Harrell.
Clay Harrell's Topcast, he talked to a lot of old timers. And they're incredibly fascinating. Listening to them talk about the factory. Look for interviews with some of the designers that have done like video series stuff. John Osborne, who worked for Gottlieb as an electromechanical engineer in the early 70s. Some of his videos, John Osborne is the guy who designed Haunted House, Strange World, a couple of the later Gottlieb EMs, Hit the Deck. He talks about the Gottlieb factory a lot, very fascinating. But again, you got to remember, like, this wasn't special back then. It's interesting, right? But there wasn't people sitting down being like, I must record this information about this factory, right? It's a bunch of people getting paid minimum wage working in a factory. You know, today it's very fascinating because they made so many magical things, but, you know, finding that information is difficult. Nate Shivers
Stern has a book. Oh yeah, Nate Shivers, Coast to Coast. He has a lot of
listen to the Roger Sharp tapes that Nate Shivers has been releasing.
That's part of the Stern Insiders.
Are they now? I know he did 2 of them that weren't.
Oh, maybe, yeah. You could probably find it.
It's 2 of the. I mean, he's only released like 3 podcasts in the last 2 years, but I think one of them was with Harry Willliams, and it's very noisy because Roger interviewed Harry Williams at this Chicago delicatessen with a tape recorder on the table.
I listened to that. Yeah, it's still
incredible.
Great if you can handle like the noise resolution and stuff. The content is awesome.
Yeah, and there's another one where he spoke with Sam Stern when Sam was the president of Williams in the 70s, and that was very interesting. I mean, he released a new one, right? Was it with Ray Maloney, or was it with Sam Ginsberg? I don't remember. Again, these are old-time people that are, you know, the bosses of these companies when they were in their first heydays. It's fascinating.
Yeah, and Stern has a book now that I guess it's Jack Prince. I think that
finally came out.
Yes, it was a kick. I think that's the company that they go by for it. But yes, they made a beautiful Keeping the Ball Alive, 30 Years of Stern.
Oh, cool.
Book, and it's awesome. It talks about every single Stern pinball machine. It has lots of pictures, nice little insights from Gary and other people that worked on the games during that time frame.
Very cool.
And
I have to see if I can pick one of those up. I'd love to have that. I forgot all about it because the Kickstarter kept getting pushed back and back and back. But now I do remember that Jack Danger posted about it.
Pushed it back and back and back to make it better and better and better. And now they're about to start shipping them. They just brought them all to Stern for Stern approval.
Right.
And Jack Danger leaks, maybe it's not a leak, but posted a picture of it, and it is beautiful. And then they even had one where it's like a Slash edition, and Slash from Guns N' Roses came and signed a bunch of books.
That's awesome.
And I was like, why didn't I get the Slash edition?
I'll have to see if I can still get on that train. I'd like to get one of those to add to my pinball book collection.
It's a good coffee table book.
Yeah, very cool. Sorry, that was kind of a long answer.
Oh, but Roger Sharp's book is on eBay for $50.
Buy it now. Whoever gets it first, that's a good deal. You can't get that thing anymore.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, Roger said recently that he, you know, the publisher who published that book in the early 70s, they destroyed the files for it in the 80s. So he can't republish it without,
redo it.
Going back and doing it. It's incredible because it's
Thanks, Pat, for posting a link.
Great photos, just tons of great photos in that book. And good story. It's a great interview. If you don't know, Roger Sharp was an editor, or like the editor at GQ in the 70s, and he just loved pinball, right? So, that is, he's a very eloquent, just amazing person to listen to. Every sentence has you hanging on the edge of your seat, but he wasn't just a pinball guy. He started in advertising and magazines and then wrote an incredible book. If you can get your hands on it, it's amazing. It's very hard to find nowadays.
Yeah, there's lots of good pinball books. Yeah, Lebo Pinball brought up Pinball Magazine's number 5. That was Wayne Nyans.
Yep.
Gottlieb history. Wayne Nyans is 101, maybe 102.
I think he's 102 now.
Oh my gosh. And he made almost all of those machines.
Yeah, him and Norm Clark were two of the most prolific pinball designers of all time. I mean, just made hundreds of games. It's incredible.
That's awesome. David says his first machine he still has is a Gottlieb Gladiator. Nice.
Oh, heck yeah. I have a Gottlieb Gladiator Translite hanging in my office. Or is it Arena? Whatever, they're both awesome, but Gladiator's a great game. I love that game. That's a John Norris game, isn't it?
I don't remember.
Oh yeah, that's right, Mugen. The Gladiator, he said AKA Zelda. That was gonna
Yep.
be a Legends of Zelda game, and then they maybe didn't follow through with the licensing, so it became a Gladiator.
I forgot the story of that game, but again, let me Clay Harrell's Topcast. If you listen to the interview with John Norris, he talks about that situation. It's pretty fascinating.
Dang. Well, any last questions for Kyle before we go? We're about up on our times, and we got to go back to work.
What do you mean? I get to go home now.
Oh, really? Oh, man.
Yeah, well, wait. Is it 5 o'clock
Lucky.
or we only... What time is it?
4:30?
Oh, wow. We cut this one real short. Okay, that's good. Yeah,
We've
okay.
been going for an hour and a half. That's supposed to be our standard, but sometimes our installs take a little bit longer.
Our standard
so we
is
go to
2 hours. What are you talking about? 2 hours?
We might make Carrie Hardy cry because he just got on and now we're saying like, he's
Hopefully,
gonna fall asleep at work now.
our next episode, we'll try to get some stuff planned out. But honestly, aside from drop targets, like taking this thing down, putting new rubbers on it, it's really not probably going to take too much. We'll have to figure out the displays, but this will be a well-working game with not much effort, I don't think.
So next week we'll still be on Time Warp. Oh yeah, History of Pinball on YouTube. Type that in, you can find awesome video. MGM Studios posted.
I haven't heard of that.
Yeah.
If no one has any questions, that means I probably did a pretty good job of talking at you today. So this will be a fun game, though. I'm excited to kind of get my hands on an older game. I'm sick of working on all this new stuff that's doesn't need work. This definitely needs love. But again, this is also kind of a simple game, even though there's 5 pop bumpers. So.
Oh, 10:30 p.m. in Croatia. It's your bedtime. Now you can go to sleep and dream of Kyle's pinball repairs.
Oh boy.
Where's the beer? Colin Baxter keeps wanting to know. It's beer o'clock. Beer is off camera. You know, I try to keep the beer off camera. Sometimes Kyle likes to bring his beer on camera, and then I go like,
only on Saturdays.
Show.
Only on Saturdays.
That's true.
This weekend, we'll probably be doing another stream on Saturday or Sunday. I'm not going to commit to a day, but we'll probably be working on Flash. Unfortunately, I'll probably be doing exactly what we did today and crossing my fingers that it will work as well as today did, but at least I have a little experience on it again. Again, that's another game I need to get electronically sound, but my friend also lugged in a really dirty, nasty Party Zone and a really dirty, nasty Indy 500. And that might be a decent PinTech candidate coming up soon. A really gross WPC game. We haven't even touched a WPC game on this show yet. And I know that's what most of y'all care about. So maybe we should jump in on work on one of those things soon.
That would be awesome. I love Indy 500.
Me too. The turbo, that thing's super rad. I had one of those. I wish I didn't sell that game.
Party Zone is a rare find these days.
Yeah, it is. It's weird. That was a game that people couldn't give away 8-10 years ago, and now it's been a while since I've even had one in for repair. Strange. It's a great game. I love the Dr. Dude, Party Zone, Party Animal series of games.
Yeah.
Greg Ferris is crazy. But Party Zone's fun, man. It's got
awesome art.
Dr. Bizarre. His creepy mustache.
Colin wants to know if you can make him ramp flaps for a space shuttle he just got.
Can I? Yes. Will I? No, because I hate doing it. But if you beg and beg, maybe. Actually, we might be able to get some of those for sale soon.
You wouldn't have figured out what was going on with your pinball machine if he didn't tell you to open the coin door and turn it on at the same time. I mean, afterwards.
You got me there.
I'm trying to help you out, Colin.
I hate doing that. It's not that hard. It's just not fun. Buy a bunch of blue steel and get some nice sharp scissors and go at it. I'm still working really hard on trying to find someone to produce blue steel springs flaps for us. I think that's something we should have hopefully by the end of the year, early next year. So.
Yeah, Colin, send me an email to marcotv@marcopinball.com with your address. We'll send you a little Marco swag. for helping us out today.
For saving me a few minutes.
We appreciate it. Absolutely.
Yes, very much so.
And the last question, where did it go? MK Dud on Twitch. Have you ever heard, I haven't, have you ever heard of a Bally Flash Gordon with Sound Plus and Vocalizer?
Yep. The only games to use the Sounds Plus and Vocalizer were Xenon and Flash Gordon, but it was only the first handful of Flash Gordons that used the vocalizers. As much as I like oddball and strange stuff, I still think I'd rather have a Flash Gordon with a squawk and talk because they sound better. But that is pretty cool. You don't see those as often. Flash Gordon wasn't a great selling game, but there's definitely way more squawk and talk versions than the vocalizer versions. I like Flash Gordon a lot, even though it wasn't a good selling game. It's a great movie. Yeah, man, Flash Gordon, that's cool.
Don't we have a Special Force back glass? We were selling a Special Force back glass during our show circuit last year.
I don't think.
Wasn't it? No, it was.
I doubt it. That's a weird game.
It wasn't special. It was
Bally Special Force? That's a
Bound Force is trying to find a back glass for the Special Force.
Yeah, you'll probably never, ever find another Special Force back glass. I think that might be like the last back glass ever reproduced for pinball, but good luck. It's weird. Those mid-'80s Bally games, you're never going to find them. But then again, you might be able to get it as a translite. Maybe someone has printed or will make them as a translite, which is a viable option also. I think that game did use a silkscreen back glass, though. It wasn't until the later games like Hard Body and Dungeons & Dragons that started using a translite.
I was thinking of the Police Force translite that we had.
Yeah,
remember we had that at Houston?
Yeah, I think those are kind of readily available. You can get those things. I'd also want to say this at the end of the show too, but eventually we will only really be doing this show on Twitch. So if you are watching on YouTube, if you are watching on Facebook, it would be awesome if you would go over to twitch.tv/Marco Pinball. I mean, that's what our account is, but you can go to Twitch TV, make an account, and you can follow us. That way, when we do make that transition, which we aren't going to just like up and do right away, when we do make that transition, you will be able to continue joining us in the show that we love putting on. So.
And it's fun too, because then we can do fun things like polls and other types of cool Twitch integrated things that we can't really do being on all the platforms
the cross-platform stuff. So yeah, twitch.tv.
Yes, we will still archive the shows on YouTube, so they'll pop up afterwards. It just won't be interactive, and we'll do that too on Facebook. We'll post the archival, but we like interacting with you in the chat, and I hope you all do too. So we want you to be here when it's live.
Yes, it's much more fun to talk to you.
We should see who, for everyone that is on Twitch. Oh, look at all those little
got some people to raid.
Thanks, Mogan. Yeah, so on Twitch too, while you're watching our channel, when we sign off, we get to do this thing called raid another channel, and it sends everyone over to another pinball channel, and we all hang out there for a little while, which is always fun.
Yeah, we kick you out of here and force you somewhere else. It's fun. What else? I want to say also, we've probably said it once, but maybe one more time before well, there's still people here. Very many thanks for going on to This Week in Pinball and giving us good reviews on the promoters database. Emoto and I were very tickled pink to find us going from like 2 reviews to like 20 reviews, and everyone was saying like really nice things instead of like, Kyle's voice sounds weird and his hair looks strange, and why is Emoto just a small talking head, and why am I watching people fix pinball machines? Instead, you had like really nice things to say. So thank you very much. It's pretty cool. It validates us doing this, so thank you.
I don't know. So should we raid the UK Pinball Club? I'm not sure how this is going to be.
That would be fun.
Playing Jurassic Park, but it's in the UK.
Who else is streaming? Let's take a quick poll. My preference is always to join up with our favorite
Not really. I don't. So I like to raid to people that I've seen their stream before, and right now we have only 3 other streamers.
Hey, let's go to the UK Pinball
needs
Club.
more streamers. Where are you guys at?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, stream in
He's
the middle of the
Jurassic
day.
Park. That's good. There's some virtual pin stuff going on the other side of things, and someone's updating their website. Maybe Uncle Toy Box. I don't know what's going on anymore. But anyways, thank you everyone for joining us today. It was a great show. Feels good. We love
thanks.
Thursdays, hanging out with y'all.
We'll do some more fun stuff next week, like actually taking things apart.
And don't forget the 24-hour free shipping for orders over $99 code. That's free domestic shipping. You can take advantage of it right now. And the code is PT-VITRUVIAN. If you don't know how to spell that, look in the description, because I actually did put it in the video description because words are hard.
Steve is very pleased with his code. He likes it very much. Maybe next week we'll
I tried
do
to turn
something
it down,
else funny.
and he was like, no. And I was like, okay, I love you, Steve. We'll do this. All right. So, see you guys next Thursday.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.